Table. I'm from Scotland. My parents were in the chairs of their respective Orange lodges. My father was the master of the Loyal Sons of Ulster, and my mother was the mistress of the Loyal Daughters of Ulster. So this meant that they were out at lodge functions a fair bit, leaving Granny to look after the sprog. And she sat me up in the pram and she taught me Orange songs, like you do. And she had me sitting singing things like Derry's Walls, all the old standards. But mini-me found it a wee bit awkward getting my tongue round the Royal Orange Lily-o. But she kept me going about that for years afterwards. It was a bigger challenge for the mini-me, but the burden of my song is I want to see a renewal of interest in all these old Orange songs, because the bands will go out and they will play popular music, things that everybody knows, fair enough. But even when they do play the Orange songs, nobody knows exactly what the words are supposed to be. And then the books that are available with the Orange songs in them, by and large, they don't have the staff music notation in them, so you've no idea what the tunes are supposed to be. So between the two of them it might be okay, but you're losing out there all the time. Bands don't play words, although seemingly Sinn Féin actually know all the words, which is pretty good going, you know. But conversely, as I say, many of the old Orange songbooks are out of print, and they didn't include staff music anyway. One instance of words being separated from the tune they were supposed to go to is Oliver's advice. It's quite an interesting one. It's about the advice of Oliver Cromwell for his troops. Put your trust in God, my boys, and keep your powder dry, is the refrain of the song. It was written by Colonel William Blacker, one of the older writers of Orange songs, and the tune was lost. And then Sam Henry came along, and Sam Henry was a collector from the North Coast who was a unionist councillor in Coleraine Town Council. And he put the tune of the Battle of Barossa to the words, and I think it goes quite well. Battle of Barossa was one of the battles of the Peninsular Wars, and the tune is anyway, I don't know whether it still is, one of the repertoire of the Coleraine Fife and Drum Band. So, just to start off with Oliver's advice, you can see from this that the old words can be difficult for a modern audience, and sometimes difficult for a singer, but I think it goes quite well all the same, so see what you think. Excuse me having to jump in and out of the accordion, it's probably a bit off-putting, but anyway. The night is gathering, the day is closing fast, the tempest floods its raving wings and loud and angry blasts, the thunder clouds are gathering abroad the lurid sky. So put your trust in God, my boys, Colonel William Blacker's, Oliver's advice, we'll have a wee passing glance at Colonel Blacker as we go on. So that was my granny, and she's responsible for all this, because it certainly put a love for Orange music in my heart, and I have never lost that. I have been told to clear away off and not appear in Orange Halls from time to time, but that's another whole story. You know, back, 11 years ago, Gregory Campbell in Stormont made a comment, and it was to the effect of curry my yoghurt, con Coca-Cola or something similar. But whatever you think of that, it was sending up, obviously, the Gaelic language. But it was nothing new, because way back, the very first song that could be considered an Orange song was Lily Bolero. And the words were by the Whig politician Thomas the First Marquis of Wharton. They're basically a pastiche of a sung congratulatory dialogue between two Irish speakers on the coming triumph of Popery and the Jacobite cause, which didn't work out too well. So ridicule of the Irish language is not anything new, but whether Gregory Campbell was wise to do what he did is another matter entirely. But Lily Bolero goes, "Oh brother, take us here to decree, Lily Bolero, la, that we shall have a new deputy, Lily Bolero, la." It goes on from there. The new deputy, it was James's Irish viceroy, the Earl of Tyrconnell, otherwise known as Lying Dick Talbot. But that tune and that song sang a king out of three kingdoms, it's said. The tune itself is a very pleasing air. It's a tune for harpsichord, a quick step by Daniel Purcell, and has survived much longer than the original old pastiche words. So today it's sung as the Protestant Boys, and for years it was the theme tune of the BBC World Service, unfortunately no longer. So that's the story of the first, arguably the first one, that was actually popular. So speaking of teaching Orange songs to the younger generation, we used to play a lot of Richard Hayward records in the car when we were going on holiday. And Richard Hayward had a backing group of male singers. What we had instead was the kids in the back seat who would join in and sing along, which was pretty good. But Richard Hayward was quite unusual in that he was very much into the Northern Ireland drama scene, and he ended up managing to get himself a part in A Night to Remember. If you remember the old black and white Titanic movie, Richard Hayward was a third petty officer or something on that. And he loved Ulster with a passion. He wrote a big volume called In Praise of Ulster, and he was also a collector of these Orange songs and recorded them. Some would say maybe his backing group were better singers than he was, but nonetheless, he managed to preserve these songs for another generation or two. It's said that, I don't know if you know about Paul Clement's book on Richard Hayward, but that came out maybe a couple of years ago. During Paul Clement's research on Hayward, he discovered that at the time of his death, and he died on the 11th of July, I think it was 64, but don't quote me on that, he had been up in North Antrim going around bonfires and recording, and was interested particularly in the Lambeg drums. And then he was killed in this awful car accident. And apparently Roy Dixon of Ballymoney got sort of left with what Richard Hayward had collected in the way of an Orange history in words and music. Nobody seems to know what has happened to that. I'd love to get my hands on it. I tried various folk that I thought might know, but no joy at all. Apparently Roy Dixon used to sing the Ballad of Richard Hayward, and another, in that case too, it seems to have been lost. So if anybody knows anything about Roy Dixon, let me know, but he would certainly be in his mid to late 80s now. He was just a young man of 26, I believe, when Richard Hayward died. So anyway, this was one of Richard Hayward's songs, the ones that he recorded, and it's a good way of conveying some of the highlights of Orangism and biblical Protestantism, but it's a strange mixture. It features some aspects of Orange ritual towards the end, so I shall try and find it if I can, because I'm coming down with books here. Some of these are quite hard to navigate your way around. Here we are. Richard Hayward went at something of a scalp with this one. It was same for the oxygen masks by the end of it. He belted his way through it. But anyway, you'll see it's a rather strange conglomeration of things. The song I'm going to sing to you, if you would listen to me. There's nothing curious in it, boys, and that you'll plainly see. It's a song that every orange man can sing with loyalty. Some simple, homely verses of our Orange ABC. Now A, it stands for Aughrim, where blood flowed on the plain. And B is for by water, there were bones who still remain. And C stands for Kilmore, where crossing it we had our falls. And D, I'm sure you all know, wells are maiden Derry's walls. While D's for Enniskillen, where nobly made it shine. And F is for those fathers brave who conquered at the Boyne. Big G's for that great general who fought at our right hand. And H is for Hanover, which is great King William's land. Then judge it for yourselves, boys, and listen unto me. We'll turn, believe, and sing it still, our Orange ABC. Now I is for the Israelites that cross sweet Jordan streams. And J stands for Joshua, our guide he still remains. Our K for Knox Reformer, who for the truth contend. While L for Martin Luther, which great doctrines we commend. While M stands still for Moses, as he reviewed the land. And N stands for Noah, who built the ark at God's command. With O it stands for orange, a colour you've all worn. And P is for the purple fine with which the ark was born. Then judge it for yourselves, boys, and listen unto me. We'll turn, believe, and sing it still, our Orange ABC. Slide U is for the question they ask you at the door. And R is for the road, you boys, which some have trod before. And S is for the secret you're certain there to find. While T is for the travels you will always bear in mind. U, it stands for unity, in which we all should join. And V is for the victory we conquered at the Boyne. But W stands for William, our famous Commodore. And X is this to tell you, to X for nothing more. So that's the Orange ABC, and as you can see, it's quite a mixture. As we saw, there's a bit about Orange ritual at the end for those that are in the know. I'll just get rid of these as I go, because otherwise it will be highly confusing. Many Orange songs speak of a time when at the end of the closing ritual of the lodge, or maybe after a parade, there would be opportunity for social interaction between the members. And in those days, before modern electronic input and high amplification, brother so-and-so would be asked for his pleasure. And he could always be relied upon to come up with his favourite, usually unaccompanied and without recourse to a songbook, unlike some of us. And often, as I say, the songs mentioned Orange Ritual or recalled the heroes of Orangeism. Songs in this category include things like Orange and Blue. Da, 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 da. Nice tune. Well, the Orange Toast, which is not so well known, or this one, which is called the Orangeman. The tune is an adaptation of the British Grenadiers, and it's another one recorded by Hayward. You can find the list of things. Here we are. And I'm not giving any secrets away here. My old music teacher had a stand with an accordion permanently on it. I begin to think I know where he's coming from. Right. Without the long strum on. Intentionally, because it reads, who wouldn't stand for England's land, the valiant and the true? And nowadays we're not so keen to stand for England's land, are we? But anyway, still we are loyal. So there we go. A point to notice about Orange songs is they cover a wide range of subjects. And there are memorial songs, like the drowning of young Robinson in Portadown. There are songs in this category that speak of events much closer to home. I don't know if any of you have ever heard Anna Moore, which is about the killing of a young girl on her way to work, actually, and it was a British soldier who shot her. The argument was over an arch which the Scully and his cavalry, we're told, had gone to cut down. It wasn't supposed to be there, and she managed to get caught in the crossfire, which was very sad. So there's that. But much closer to home is the murder of McBriar's, Newton Breda, and that was in the 1860s. Now, if I can find McBriar's, there we go. You know the songs of William, his friends above the pure, beyond the roar of William, keep yourselves secure. Behold long song and I actually missed out a few verses, would you believe? So you're invited to bring your sandwiches and your camp bed, I think, for that one. Anyway, there's among the Orange repertoire, there's even an immigrant song which is called Farewell to Kilmood. Farewell unto you, sweet Kilmood, the land of my nativity. And there are songs that give the lie to the typical image of Orange people. The Old Orange Flute, the Orange Moon and the Devil, and the Papish Goat are all comedy ones. My old boss in the law course, believe it or not, used to sing the Old Orange Flute as his party piece at Christmas time, at Christmas party. That was before the public service went, you know. Anyway, I remember him with great affection. However, Orangeism in Ireland doesn't tend to do romance. One of the exceptions is the Orange Maid of Sligo. There are not too many Orange Maids left in Sligo, you may have noticed. But it's a very pleasing, gentle wee tune, if I can find it. And many believe that it is actually an allegory for the relationship between Ulster and GB. And I can't find it, but I think I can probably wing this one. On Ben Baldwin's wild and lofty height, the evening setting sun was bright. It cast a ray of golden light across the bay of Sligo. I thought I could remember it, but I can't. Hang on. It's another one.
It's in the blue one.
It's in the blue one, isn't it? Right, okay.
Do you want any more lights?
No.
No.
No, I'm okay,
You're right.
thanks, There it is, yes, you're right, it is in the blue one. Page 31 of the blue one. They had it marked, isn't that what daft? Right. Number 31, page 31.
Better sing up because the tide is rising in the
The
Bay
tide
of
is
Sligo.
rising, I know. I found it, that's fine. It actually was marked. Okay. Very important to think yourself. I'll start again. On Ben Baldwin's wild and lofty height, the evening setting sun was bright. It cast a ray of golden light across the bay of Sligo. A tiny crowd from glancing horn and swelling sail a windy floor. It brought a tiny across the shore to this the bay of Sligo. Richard Hayward recording of that was very good, but the backing group would have repeated the last line. So you got, the orange maples fly go, and our lot in the back seat of the car as we went on holiday would have gone, the orange maples fly go, and I can hardly sing it without thinking, what's up, they're not singing it, you know? So that is one of the very few love songs. There are a few, but as I say, it's thought of as possibly an allegory for the relationship between Ulster and the rest of the UK. The number of songs were written by Ulster supporters in Great Britain, and we have one or two that in the old songbooks that are, you know, described as having been written by a Manchester Orangeman, that kind of thing. The sash came out of a competition in Glasgow, actually, but I was in an accordion band in Glasgow, and they used to shout the Irish sash, which was a different thing entirely. And the tune, if I can remember it, it's something similar of subject matter, but it's going the other direction, if you know what I mean.
No.
Well, the ordinary sash is an Ulsterman going to Glasgow. The Irish sash is the other way around. That's the Irish sash. There's also a thing called the Protestant hymn that goes to the sash. I'd love to hear it sung in a church service, I really would, but I don't know who's brave enough to do that. We won't give up the Bible, the lamp of life and love, to guide us through the darkness to brighter worlds above. Oh, may its radiance streaming and lighten all our way, brighter and brighter, beaming unto the perfect day. It's a good thing, but it's long again, it's another long song. The interest in Orange songs ebbed and flowed, reflecting the turbulent cycles in the history of Ulster. As with an understanding of the history of the Troubles, the context is important. You've kind of got to know what people were living through when they wrote these things. And there's an interesting one on that wee collection of essays, a quote from a gentleman who is described as a man of wealth and liberal principles. And this was conveyed to a friend in a letter written around 1835. If anyone had said to me 5 years ago, you will become an Orangeman, I would have looked upon that person as a very false prophet. Mr. Stubber went on to explain how his opinion had changed over time. Clearly he had been educated by events. Before Catholic emancipation, I had looked upon the Roman Catholics as struggling for what they had a just right to demand. Then disillusionment set in. Mr. Stubber complained I was humbugged by the profession of bishops, priests and laymen into the belief that they would rest satisfied with equal rights. The Orangeman noted that with the passing of the Relief Bill, the ulterior motives and objectives of the Roman Catholics had come more clearly into view. This, together with the violence and outrage in the countryside, helped explain the increase of the Orange Societies, as Mr. Stubber called them. He concluded, and this is important, it is easy for Englishmen who are in total ignorance of the state of society in this country to condemn the Orange institution. They have never lived among an ill-affected, hostile, lawless and all but insurgent population. It is because I feel the necessity that exists for union among all Protestants in defence of life and property that I have joined the Orange Society. And, you know, we have had to, for generations, fight for our place on this island, and we are still fighting for our place. So during the Home Rule period, there was quite an upsurge in the writing of songs. This is one I do not have the music for. I don't know that it's in any book, but I'll try and remember it this time. It was written for the Ulster Convention, and it's called Stand Together, Men of Ulster. It just shows you that the divisions within unionism are nothing new either. And this was a plea for them to stand in defence of the union. Stand together, men of Ulster. Stand together, side by side. Let no envy bar your union. Let no jealousy divide. Put away misunderstanding. Trust each other, heart and soul. Till all of peace is only, and the clouds asunder roll. Stand together, men of Ulster. Look to God to guide us all. He is watching all your movements, as right arms round your throne. We will stand rooted in joy, changing trouble into peace. Trust your cause to God Almighty, and pretend that soon will cease. No surrender, men of Ulster, till peril pass away. Man wars of truth and freedom, look above and watch and pray. For in the cause of union, trust in God and plan and do. Look the banner floats above you, the sacred of your father's food. So, as I say, that was written for the Ulster Convention in 1892. It's amazing how up to date it is. Just a wee wander off the pathway here. What do you folks take to be the opening line of The Black Man's Dream? Anybody know it? No?
One night I thought a vision brought, no? Me to a spacious place.
Spot on. Yeah, most people will say one night as I lay on my bed, and there's no beds included in the. We're not advertising for Slumberland. The Black Man's Dream begins, one night I thought a vision brought me to a spacious plain. There seems to be a long-standing confusion between those two. My mother was one of the last people I ever heard sing The Black Man's Dream. She used to go around the Black Receptories and sing. It's a different tune entirely. One night I thought a vision brought me to a spacious place. You know, it's not an easy one to sing either. So that's what the tune should be. Orange songs are generally a rather homespun affair. And there was an egalitarian edge to an awful lot of the ballad-reading songs. In the Crimson Banner Songbook 1911, the song The Orange and the Blue contains the following stanza. Let not the poor man hate the rich, nor rich on poor look down, but each join each true Protestant for God and for the crown. However, just occasionally a song would emerge that attempts a more upmarket approach to orange songs. One of these is on the favourite subject of the Siege of Derry. And this one employs one or two operatic devices, such as a recitativo section at the beginning. It's meant for piano and trumpet accompaniment, so I can't match that, I'm afraid. So the squeeze box will have to do tonight. And I'll leave you to decide whether it actually succeeds in its objective of giving us a kind of upmarket Gates of Londonderry, which is what it's called. It's it's quite atmospheric, I think is the way I would put it. So, got to get the assistance of the table to get these clips on. So all you actually need is something like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir for that one thing. So, now where did I put my rest of my prompts? They're all missing. That's really handy. Right. Right, well, as we all know, Jonathan being an expert in the subject, after the Dolly's Bray incident in 1849, there was a parliamentary inquiry. And then the Party Processions Act 1850, which introduced a ban on orange parades. William Johnson of Ballykilbeg defied Grand Lodge orders and led a parade from Newtonards to Bangor in 1867. So there was 17 years of a gap between the Party Processions Act and his actual defiance of the ban. Now, the relevant section in Sibbitt's History of Orangism reads as follows, if I can get my hands on it. This is a wonderful work, but the index is lousy. There isn't no indexes. So you have to hunt. The position taken up by the Grand Orange Lodge of Ireland was that under the Party Processions Act, all public demonstrations of a party nature were illegal, no matter by whom promoted. And year after year, in the addresses issued to the Brethren of the Orange Order, it counselled obedience to the strict letter of the law. Patience, however, did become exhausted. And William Johnson of Ballykilbeg, a member of the institution and a barrister at law, as a protest against the utter unfairness with which the Orange men had been treated, jailed on the slightest grounds, while open violators of the law on the opposite side were left untouched, headed a procession from Newtonards to Bangor in 1867. For this he was tried at Downpatrick Assizes and ordered 12 months imprisonment in Downpatrick Jail. So, while in prison, he didn't let the grass grow, he wrote another Orange song. And this one's called Bangor and No Surrender. The words of it, again, you could swear were written for today, if I will find it again. Realize the thing this time. Right. There is a verse in it that answers critics of the Orange position by saying, "It was not in anger and not in hate we kept commemoration in honour of our hero great who freed the British nation." And there it is in a nutshell, isn't it? The British nation is entirely grateful, but certainly the Boyne was of international significance, and we do well to remember it every 12th of July. So this is Bangor and No Surrender. It's not a long one, you'll be glad to hear. Shall I stir for a love flag we bore so proudly unto Bangor, and shall we cry forevermore before the foeman's anger, the craven hearts to tyranny, a coward of each grandeur, the cause of the true and free will still be no surrender. 'Twas not in anger and not in hate we kept commemoration in honour of our hero great who freed the British nation. The Highlands go with gilded wine, a winding slumber stand, a spirit goes for liberty, we rally round our banner. For liberty, for us, for He served his sentence for breaking the Party Processions Act and then went on to become an MP, of course. And is remembered for his role in securing the repeal of the Act. So he succeeded in his objective. And all too often, you know, when you look at that gap of 17 years between the Act and the breaking of the ban on parades, we give up so easily, don't we? We really need to learn more stickability, the way that Johnson did. So, the words of that actually echo the earlier song, Orangeman. No treason binds our honest minds, no rancour moves our arm. We weave no rope for priest or pope, we aim at no man's harm. We've always had to try and explain ourselves away, and you know, it's just a constant. William Johnson, as a barrister and former newspaper proprietor, had a way with words. His wife Harriet also wrote a few songs, including her classic No Surrender. These old songs are written in language with which today's generation are not really familiar, with their mobile phones and all the electronic stuff. But even for those days, I think Harriet's lyrics were particularly challenging for the average singer. This is a beauty, this one. On came the foe in bigot ire, and fierce assault was given. By shot and shell, mid streams of fire, her fatal roofs were riven. You wouldn't want to be in the front row of the audience when somebody was singing that, would you? No wonder the temptation is to slow the tempo down to an absolute saunter. So, just sort of winding up now, you'll be pleased to know, where are we? Good. Rabbie Burns wrote, "O wad some poor the gift he gies to see yourselves as others see us." And we have some insights from the thesis of Georges Denis Zimmermann. This is called Irish Political Street Ballads and Rebel Songs, 1780 to 1900. It was completed back in 1966 in Geneva. Zimmermann identified the writers of most of the Orange songs as the Reverend John Graham, 1774 to 1844, Colonel William Blacker, 1777 to 1855, and Robert Young, known as the Fermanagh True Blue, 1800 to around 1855. However, Zimmermann was inclined to ignore what was actually happening in the Protestant community when the songs were written, and he makes a bit too much of emotive symbols and old grievances, as he puts it. They're not really old. Just want to read you a couple of wee bits from his thesis. It was relatively fair to the Orange side of things. So, the history of Orangism in Ireland seems to be practically an unexplored field so far as scholarly researches are concerned. Articles and books on this subject are even more strongly biased than the literature on nationalism, being almost always either passionate and often unfair attacks or blindfolded and unconvincing praises and vindications. Limiting my study to the songs of the Orange Institution, I found that they had been less seriously collected and examined than the nationalist ballads. They certainly are less numerous, expressing the sentiments of a stern-faced minority defending its privileges, and therefore mostly deprived of the easy romantic appeal of rebel songs. They nonetheless deserve attention. At least some of them are good songs, and their historical importance should not be overlooked. Gavin Duffy observes soundly in the introduction to his collection of ballads compiled in the nationalist spirit of Young Ireland that some Orange texts had to be included. Quote, "Whatever could illustrate the character, passions or opinions of any class of Irishmen, that we gladly adopted. The Orange songs echo faithfully the sentiments of a strong, vehement and indomitable body of Irishmen." So, there's another quote on page 304 that I think is interesting, and with that we will leave Mr. Zimmermann, but anyway. The Orange men of Ulster, who want to keep the economic, political and spiritual links with Great Britain, but also to preserve their own identity, have their special way of being Irish. Their songs certainly share various elements with the nationalist ones. their phraseology, sometimes their tunes or their themes. If we try to compare the ballads of the two parties, we might say that the Orange ballad makers seem to have been better storytellers. Their narrative is often more efficient. They are less likely to introduce irrelevant or obscure episodes. They prefer the first person plural to the first person singular. The rhythm of their verse is usually more martial, and this of course also applies to the melodies. As for the nationalist or rebel ballads, we can describe them as being more individualistic. They are frequently introduced as the statements of personal experiences and are concerned with one hero or victim rather than with parties or communities. The songs of the Orangemen and those of the nationalists can be violent and ruthless, but the nationalist ones tend more frequently towards lyricism or sentimentality. So he wasn't totally dismissive of the Orange tradition, for sure. There's one or two slightly wrong factual bits in it. He seems to be unaware that Omagh District Lodge, believe it or not, passed a resolution in favour of the 1798 rebellion. But he states that the Orangemen strongly supported the government and played a prominent part in the repression of the rising. It was not universally the case. Omagh was different, and there may have been others who were equally different, I'm not sure. As for themes in all these songs, you have to be amazed really at the continuity. As I've said so many times, you would swear they were written for today. The nationalists exert pressure until they provoke a reaction. For instance, with the Dolly's Bray incident, as Jonathan well knows, there had been a previous occasion in which the nationalists had blocked the road and the Orangemen had been rerouted and were happy to be rerouted. But then the nationalists made a big deal out of it and really wound the thing up. And the following year, of course, we had the actual Dolly's Bray incident. So, you know, they really dig at you until they get a reaction, and they're motivated by a desire to rid the island of Ireland of Protestants and Unionists. So, I just finished by quoting our good friend William Johnson there in that last verse. And we shall scorn as scorn we must our fathers' rights to tender, to those who trample in the dust, the men of no surrender. We're still here, only just, but we're still here. And we're still fighting for our place in these 6 northern counties. So thank you for being a great and quiet audience who could have barracked very nicely. That's really all I've got to say, but if anybody has any questions or anything they'd like to know about Orange, give it a bash at replying. Okay?
You never sang the Folks Are We song.
No, I didn't, because I thought time was going on. If you want to sing a wee song.
You sang a wee song.
Okay. Do you go over first?
That'll be a good one to finish with.
Oh. Okay. It's like having a heckler in front of me. This one was written for the Ulster Society competition. Believe it or not, the inspiration for it came from a bus shelter in Belfast. Somebody had written on a Planters Go Home. This is my answer. Here we are, and here we stay. On the edge of the rolling great Atlantic, at the gate of Britain's rocky shore, stand forever firm men of Ulster, reading abundance in the days beyond. Where the mists of time a song comes ringing, their re-entry for the Ulster Society competition, inspired by bus shelter in Belfast. So, okay, Andrew.
Round of applause. On behalf of Friends of Schomburg House and us all here, Anne, I would like to thank you for all the effort you put into that. It was very entertaining and very knowledgeable as well. So thank you very much. I have one favour to ask of everyone. If you could all get into the centre for a photograph that'll be taken from the back of the room. Front, look out. If everyone could come over to the centre here for a photograph, please.